Welcome back to Out of the Rough. I'm Fred Arnold. I'm with Richard Marcus. Richard Marcus, an attorney with a law firm with the law offices of Richard Marcus. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
He's also a fellow provisor on a group we belong to, and we help each other grow our businesses. And also, you specialize and you practice two particular types of law. And one's family law, and the other one is business law, business litigation. Yes. Tell me more about your specialty.
Sure. Well, as far as the family law part of it goes, you've got your basic divorce cases, you've got custody that comes up, support, issues like that. In addition to that, as of late, there have been a lot of restraining order cases that seem to be coming out of the woodwork. I guess because of difficult economic times.
Yes, tough times. And the one thing I really like about your demeanor is you're easy to talk to. And I'm sure that's the way you are with your customers. And that is really important, to be a great listener when you're dealing with family law.
Yeah, I mean, the approach that I have with my clients and in litigation is that I'm very aggressive when I litigate. But you don't have to come up as being like a bully. You basically want to be the most, reasonable person in the room when you get in front of a judge. But the thing is that if you don't get what the basic things are that your client needs, that's the point in time when, you advocate vociferously for your client. You can do it without raising your voice.
Yeah.
And the judges really appreciate it. They like it when you come in there and you say, look, I'm being reasonable and the other side is not.
The voice of reason. Yeah,
right.
Love it. Well, let's talk about business litigation.
Sure.
Some business litigation. Tell us what that entails.
Well, business litigation, there's the plaintiff side and the defense side, and usually if I'm representing a defense, we want to bring an action against the plaintiff, so as we say, they're not winning the lottery. You'll get two parties that are in a business dispute. They can be partners in a partnership or involved in a corporation, or you can have an issue regarding a breach of contract with the parties involved, and it's basically how do you get your dispute resolved. And business litigation often involves claims of fraud, misrepresentation, things like that as well.
Well, one thing I do want to talk about, which we can break it down for those that are watching this, that is, when you're drafting a contract, if you draft it up properly, it really saves a lot of problems. What are some tips?
The first thing I would say, just on a larger scale, is it's really, really important with people that are either in business, getting into business, or they've been in business for a while, to consult with a lawyer before they get into trouble. And that's the whole idea with going to speak to a lawyer regarding a contract. Because when we look at things, we look at them towards, let's look at this and see what could possibly go wrong and how do we avoid that. Or do we give you some type of a loophole or something and some breathing room in case you want to get out of your contract?
Yeah, exit the contract. So a couple of things specifically, attorney fees clause.
Yeah, that's a big thing. If you're the more powerful party and you're litigating against somebody that's weaker, that doesn't have the money to fight you, then you're going to want to put an attorney's fees clause in your contract, because they can be very powerful. But the problem, though, is when you have the attorney's fees clause in there, sometimes you can get an issue like in landlord-tenant or wage and hour dispute or something like that, where you have an issue of attorney's fees, and if you can show $1 in damages, then you can get all of your attorney's fees. And what that basically does is it gives a big advantage to the little person, because under those circumstances, it almost pays for them to litigate the case. And oftentimes you'll get something where there's not a lot at issue, but then you litigate the heck out of the issue of attorney's fees, and it really changes the landscape.
So there's two perfect examples where having it or not having it or is really important for two different perspectives depending on what kind of contract you're trying to draw up.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a question of who you're trying to protect and who your client is. Whenever they ask attorneys, what's your position on something, the answer is always, well, it depends who you're representing.
Yeah. And there's ways to do that, and it's important you protect yourself. A couple quick items. Arbitration, we see it a lot, arbitration clause.
Yeah. Litigation is very expensive right now, especially in California here. The courts don't have the resources that they really need. With an arbitration, the people are saying, look, we want a private person to go and decide our dispute. And we both agree that we're going to be bound by the decision that this person makes. And it's a lot less expensive, it's a lot faster, and you don't need to wait in line. You can keep all kinds of things about your dispute private so that they're not in the public record. there's lots of benefits to arbitration.
Yeah, good. I like that. Avoid the lengthy, expensive lawsuit. What about alternative dispute resolution clause?
Well, an arbitration is a part of that. An alternative dispute resolution in general, it's a broad area of things basically where the issue is how do we settle our dispute without getting in front of a judge and doing it. So one thing that the parties can do, for example, is they can mediate. In a contract, the parties can say, we want to resolve our dispute by not going to court, and then both parties have to agree to it. You know, you see that a lot in like buy-sell agreements for real estate.
A lot in real estate.
And the parties have to initial them. And, you know, in my experience, a lot of the times the realtors really don't explain the consequences of signing a provision like that. Sometimes it's really great, and other times it's not. You know, if you're the buyer in a transaction and there's a misrepresentation that's been made, you kind of want to be able to sue the seller, whereas the seller may say, you know what, I'm getting a purchase price on this thing, and once I get my money, you know, what else is there? It's probably better for me to arbitrate the dispute.
So it limits the liability, yeah. A lot of important stuff that comes up, and so many people might have additional questions and talk to you about these subjects. How can those reach you that want to
Sure.
watch this online?
The best way to reach me is my Santa Clarita office. The number is 661-257-8877. I could also be found on the web at richard@attorneyrichardmarcus.com, and the website is www.attorneyrichardmarcus.com.
AttorneyRichardMarcus.com.
Yes.
Good stuff. Well, thanks for coming on the air.
Thank you so much for
Yeah,
having me.
absolutely. Thank you very much. Breaking those things down and making them simple. We're going to jump to a quick break, and we'll be right back.